Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of Pathways to Perform. This is your host, Kiesha Lalama, and I am so excited to be back. The team and I have been really busy this summer, so I apologize for our short hiatus. I've been working on a few creative projects, which is awesome. And that being said, for those of you that know that I'm in the performing arts industry, it's really great to see things returning. And so we are returning with one of our favorite series. This is the 5 on 5 in 5. And what that means is that our next 5 guests answer 5 of the same questions in less than 5 minutes. So 5 perspectives on 5 questions in 5 minutes. So I'm so excited to bring you this next series with our next guests. And just to remind us of what these questions might be, the first question I asked our guests is, how do you define success? The second question is really focused on success and how that might impact their daily practice, especially because success is contingent upon so much teamwork and the dedication and hard work of others. The third question was, what is your greatest failure? The fourth question I asked is really about what outside interests do you have, current interests and hobbies that influence you? And the fifth question was, how do those outside interests and hobbies influence your everyday job? So I hope you enjoy this series. This next round of guests is jam-packed with some serious talent and some awesome human beings. So thank you for your patience. We're so glad we're back, and enjoy this next episode. Our first guest is none other than Pennsylvania State football champion head coach of the Central Valley Warriors, Mark Lyons. Our question number 1 is, how do you define success?
Success is done daily. It's taking what you wanted to get accomplished at the beginning of the day and accomplishing it by the end of the day. So when you leave your craft, whatever it is, you feel that you've gotten better that particular day. To me, that's success.
You are a man of a daily practice. I love it. Okay, so number 2, and I actually have to, contribute this question to Jake. He came up with this, and I think it's so important to ask everyone.
Okay.
So much, considering the fact that you coach a team, so much of your success is really dependent on the kind of, I would say, preparation and work of others.
Right.
So how does that change your daily approach when there's so many other people that have to deliver?
Well, I think that's a daily approach into our life. We should be unselfish. We got to figure out a way to where we can pass that daily knowledge, what we practice on. We're supposed to be givers. We're supposed to be helping people. We should take that in the sporting arenas. How can I help my teammates? How can I provide for them? How can I give to them? We take too much. I think there's too many takers out there that want to just take. You have to give.
You are, again, a great human being. I love it. Or we're on the same page. So everything's resonating with me clearly.
Right. Good.
I love it. All right. So number 3, what is your greatest failure? We've talked about so much of your success. What is your greatest failure, and what did you learn from that?
Well, I'm going to say my greatest failure is not reaching everybody where they needed to be at the time that I came in contact with them. I didn't recognize where they were at in not only their athletic career, but just their mental state or learning career. And for me not to get to them, and I say this not just athletically, I say in the classroom, I didn't do a good enough job of reaching that young man, that young girl, or my athlete, because I didn't take the time to find out where they were at. I probably assumed, and I now take a step back, and I'm not so quick to really judge or want to rush into things.
Wow. How long have you been coaching?
I just finished 33 years in the profession. I don't know
Yeah,
where it went. It's crazy.
that's
I don't know where it
amazing.
went.
Well, and you can only really understand these things upon reflection. In real
Sure.
time, it's difficult to understand what you might be doing and what you want to fix, of course.
Yeah. I mean, it's learning on the job. I mean, I was fortunate enough to endure the time and found people that will allow me to grow. And again, you learn. I don't
Mhm.
know. A lot of people want to take the time to learn on the job or survive it, I guess.
Okay, so moving on to number 4, what are your current interests and passions outside of sports, outside of teaching, besides romantic comedies and having a good cry?
Yeah, that's a good point. I do enjoy. I really got into enjoying golf. I love golf, and this may sound crazy, but I started to really enjoy playing um, poker, Texas Hold'em. And for here's the reason why. I still am trying to find that balance of emotions through a course of a game, not to become emotional on the highs and not to become emotional on the. I used to wear losses very bad. I used to carry them with me. I've learned to really let them go. So my connection to this was poker's a mental game. There's no physical part. You don't have to run fast. You don't have to lift any weights. It's all here. So I'm right now is trying to figure out how I can keep my emotions in check. That game in itself has taught me to keep my emotions in check as best I can. There's not a lot of talking. There's just more internal thinking. So to me, yeah, is it a passion? I don't know if it's so much a passion or hobby. It's just another page that I'm trying to get accomplished in my book to become better at. Because it, as soon as we think we have everything figured out, something's going to jump up and get us.
That's
So
exactly right.
it's not so much a passion, it's more of a goal for me to get better.
Yeah. And I mean, I guess that this is a complete segue directly into the last question,
Mhm.
which is how do these interests and passions influence or inspire your profession?
Right. And again, I was an emotional player. I probably was too much of an emotional coach at times. Um, and now I can step back. I can walk away from a tough loss, a bad play. I can step back and reevaluate a bad decision from a player. And I can also step back and evaluate when we do have success, not to let that get in the way of everybody else's growth and enjoyment. So it goes both ways.
Our next round of questions is answered by the most beautiful mom, and she's a professor as well as an artist. Please welcome Naila Ansari. How would you define success?
Success is knowing your assets. Success is knowing what you're good at and what you can contribute to the field.
Hey, that was full circle. I love it. That was awesome. Okay, so my second question. So much of what we do is a true collaboration. It takes a team, it takes a whole bunch of people, a support group to get a production to its fully realized situation, right? So, with so much dependent on others, their hard work, their dedication, how does that actually impact your daily process? Because it's not
Oh,
just about you, and I think that so many young people think, "Oh, it's me, it's all on me." And I don't know anything that is singular.
it's not. I live in collaboration every day, and that is of utmost importance to me in the classroom with my students, at work, in business and research. I can't do what I do without having other people in it. What I'm careful of is who I allow to collaborate with me.
Oh, that's amazing. Okay. And so what is your greatest failure? And how did you prevail?
My greatest failure is probably my divorce.
I understand.
I know that probably sounds like cliche for anybody that's been divorced, but if you've been divorced, it's one of those things because you're taking yourself out of a social norm and you have to face it very public. But not only that, you have to come out on the other side, and you can come out in a good way, or you can come out in a problematic way. I'm not going to say bad. So
Mhm.
for me, I found after I divorced, I was able to find myself because I had to face not just myself, but I had to face publicly something that seemingly felt like a failure, which is right now my greatest uh, like it's been one of my greatest successes. And I have an awesome kid too.
Yeah. And he's beautiful and he's
Yeah.
perfect. Okay, great. Yeah. Well, I think you have to fail to succeed.
Yes.
I mean, you have to fall on your face and get back up and figure it out. And
Mhm.
that's all part of it. Great. And so what are your current interests or passions outside of dance and the industry?
Ooh, I live for some like Netflix binge and
Yes, me too.
it's just like watching like random stuff. I like Queen Sugar. I've always liked the writing
Yes.
with Ava DuVernay in that. I'm really big right now, just like being outside and just walking because we've been inside so
Mhm.
much. So anytime it's a nice day, I'm like, come on, I'm like tell my son no, I'm like we're going outside, just enjoying nature, which I didn't really do before. And also finding me time because that's something that I don't have very often. So journaling and meditating is something that I'm trying to do better at, but that's something that I'm working on.
Well, and this next question goes right into that, right? So, how do these current interests and passions inspire your career and what you're doing?
Yeah, they're making me make choices of like I'm not going to do things I don't want to do. Even when I have to do something, I still have a choice to make it what I want it to be. And with COVID and kind of all these like different just like life changes happening, I've made the choice that if it doesn't serve me, then I'm not going to do it. Or if it doesn't have service to someone else that also can give me, that can fulfill me, then I'm not going to do it because you can easily get pulled in a lot of directions, particularly like the higher you climb or the more known you become, people want you to do everything for them. And if I can't follow the mission of whatever that is, I can't do it. It's a no for me. So I'm living in my no.
All right. The next questions are answered by someone so very special to my heart, the one and only Broadway star, So You Think You Can Dance star, currently starring as King George in the hit Broadway musical Hamilton. Please welcome Neil Haskell. How do you define success?
Happiness and uh, being able to nail down little pieces of your dream at, not the entire thing at one time, but, get the pieces.
That's awesome. So, considering that the performing arts industry takes so much of a team effort, so much of your success is really driven by the dedication and hard work of others, right? So, how does that affect your daily approach?
Can you elaborate?
Yeah. So, you're on a film set, for example, and you're here, and there's the camera operator and the director. It's not just about you. It takes so many people to bring these components together. So it's really not your individual success. It's
No.
based on all of you. So how do you walk in the room knowing that there's 30 people working together to make magic happen?
Well, you have to know everybody has woken up today and come into work by choice, and everybody wants to do amazing work. People may be having rough days, people may be having amazing days, and just sort of take it for what it is and just be a good person and make sure if they're having a good day, make it better. If they're not having a good day, allow them to live in that, but also try to make their day better.
You're so beautiful. That was so good. Okay, so we've talked a lot about your successes, right? Your journey and so much success. What is your greatest failure and what did you learn from that?
I will say there's no like big elephant that I was like, oh man, that was a huge failure. But I will say in my 20s, I definitely didn't think I was ready for certain parts of the business, and I would self-sabotage. I would not prepare correctly, or just not get proper sleep, or do things that would give me excuses as to why I wasn't going to book that thing tomorrow. And I think I think I've grown out of that, thank God. But it's definitely like it's it's real. You see
Mhm.
you see people doing that, and there's no way to convince people that that's not the right way to do it, because in the moment that's what they need to do. They need to self-sabotage themselves somehow. But yeah, I think learning how to not do that and learning how to just be okay with failure and not give yourself like a dumb excuse for it is so much better, because once you start doing that, then you won't need the excuses, because you won't be failing as often.
That was really good. Okay, so what are your current interests outside of acting, singing, dancing, performing arts?
I enjoy lifting weights, like doing like Olympic lifts and like CrossFit stuff. That's super fun. I started running during the pandemic. I think last fall I had run my longest run, which was about, I want to say it was about 13 miles, which at that,
Oh,
I,
13 miles?
I'm not a runner before this pandemic, but then when everything was closed, I was like, cool, let me put on a gaiter and run outside, because I need to get some exercise. And I was out here in LA and it was a beautiful day, and the normal path that I would take, I was like, I want to see what's further. Okay, cool. I want to see what's further. Okay, cool. I know there's like a lake or a pond over there. I want to go see that and run around that. And then I get around it and I was like, wow, I'm already at like 6.5 miles. I better head home.
Yeah.
And,
Well, it's interesting because your energy and your love of movement manifested itself into running.
yeah,
Sure, that's what happened because you needed to burn that energy.
I needed to get out of the house and like do something physical.
Yeah.
And active. So yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so for me, this will be common sense, I'm sure, but how do those other interests really impact and influence your performing arts career then?
Well, those interests keep me in shape,
Mhm.
um, which is good, but it also, it's kind of like stimulating. It allows you to live on like the creative side of your brain, because when you're running, um, you don't have to think. I mean, you have to think that there might be traffic, but you can like just like go into your head and just like daydream and run and just let your mind wander. And then when you head home and you have like a script to read or sides to read for an audition, your brain is in that creative place, and you can like have more creative opinions and thoughts and stuff like that. And it just sort of helps, it helps get you out of your brain, where you think it needs to be this way and it needs to be this way and it needs to be this way. No, it could be anything. This character that you're reading is is a human being and can have different opinions about all these different things. It doesn't need, there's no right answer. And so once you remember that, then you can make more fun, creative choices.
Okay, and now our next guest to answer our 5 questions is the one and only spectacular dancer and also producer. You may recognize her as her most recent performance was with none other than Britney Spears in her Pieces of Me absolute fantastic show in Vegas. Please welcome Pam Chu. How do you define success?
I define success by happiness. What makes you happy?
Yeah, me too. I agree. Okay, and I think that here's our second question. Just leading into it, I feel the misconception is so many people think success is an individual kind of something you attain as an individual. That's not true. And so as you get older and more experienced, you understand that there are many people involved in any kind of success. And so for you, knowing that so much of your success is contingent upon hard work, dedication of others, how does that impact your daily practice and process?
I mean, I definitely think I surround myself with people who are smarter than me, people who I think are better than me in the most positive way. So being surrounded by people who inspire me, I think is the way that I stay moving forward and I stay focused, because I think it's really important to be led by great examples. So I would say that support, again, it always comes back to support.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so for our number 3, what is your greatest failure? And what did you learn from that?
Oh, my greatest failure. Oh, there's so many. I don't think it's an actual thing. I think it's a feeling. Is that okay?
That's great.
I think my greatest failure is not stepping into my individuality at a younger age. I grew up in Wisconsin where not a lot of people looked like me in my town, and I was trying to fit in. And I was trying to look like everybody else and trying to get my hair super straight when it was really humid and curly. And my hair was frizzy because I'm, half Chinese, and my dad has this really curly afro. And I think it took me until quite recently, honestly, to step into my individuality. And I think I would have really benefited from understanding that that's what makes me special. So I think that not a failure, but something that I wish I could have maybe told my younger self, like, it's okay that you look different.
It's beautiful. And so our 4th question is, what are your current interests and passions outside of your industry?
Well, I have a puppy and he's 15 weeks old. And the only reason you haven't heard him is because he's outside with doors closed. So I would say that, really having something else to nurture has been a really great focus. It's been, hard for everyone over the last, year or two.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I think just making sure that I'm really focused on my self-care. I have been seeing a new functional medicine doctor, and I've started a yoga practice that I didn't have before. I'm, really focused on healthy eating and wellness and mental wellness. And also kind of wrapped up with some of those other things that we were talking about. I'm a part of a small group that started a nonprofit organization called Share the Movement. And our mission is to increase diversity in the professional dance community by offering educational, inspirational, and financial support to young, promising BIPOC students. So that's a really big thing that I'm focused on right now. So, yeah.
Oh, incredible. And so the 5th question you kind of already answered, but how do those current interests impact your industry and your work?
Yeah, again, I think really hoping that people embrace their uniqueness and their individuality and use that to, inspire others. I hope that some little dancers look at me and say, oh, she kind of looks like me, and she was able to do this, and she was able to dance, and really like passing it along and nurturing and mentoring young dancers, or anybody really that is interested in sharing their passion in a certain way. So I think the organization, my realization of being uniquely me and using that as my superpower rather than trying to hide it. So I'm hoping that allows for other people to do the same.
And our final guest in our 5 on 5 in 5 is none other than a very special colleague of mine. He's pretty awesome. He's the chair of his university department. Pretty cool. He's also a fellow podcaster and helped me launch this podcast. Not only is he a professor and a podcaster, to kind of round out our theme of P, right? Get it? Pathways to Perform. There's another P. He's a pilot. He's so amazing, and he's just a great guy. Please welcome Patrick Malvihill. How do you define success?
Perseverance. The fact that you keep pushing, you're successful already.
That is amazing. So in our industry, so much of what we do is collaborative, right? It takes a team of people in any arena to keep things moving forward. So because your industry as well is so much rooted in the idea of team and collaboration.
Yeah.
Your success is dependent on the hard work and really dedication of others.
Sure.
How does that really affect your daily approach?
I don't think it changes at all, because you're going to keep working hard, right? And if you see somebody around you that needs help or might be falling behind or not getting it, it's your job as a team to come together and elevate everybody. So again, collaboratively, yeah, you're going together as a group. Whether you're on stage as a troupe or a dance team or whatever it is you are, or a business team, again, collectively, you're going to succeed. So collectively, you're going to help each other out.
Great answer. So my next question, what is your greatest failure and how did you bounce back from that?
My greatest failure. Oh, there's so many of
Oh,
them. Geez. I mean, if you're not failing every day, like I don't think you're trying hard enough. Like that regular quote, right? My biggest failure. You know what? I not this. This is hard. I would say, earlier in my life, I'd say my undergrad, or even in sports, I always relied on natural ability, right? Just to get by. And I didn't push hard enough. So I think if I had to look at a biggest failure, that's probably what it would be. I could be where I'm at today, but maybe earlier. But at the same time, even though that was probably a big failure, without that, I wouldn't have been here today. Right. So yeah, I think that's probably, just not trusting myself or giving 100% or just being confident in what I could do, and just kind of maybe skating by during that period of my life.
Wow, that's a great answer. And so outside of, I will just kind of leave this with Point Park right now. So outside of your teaching and your influence as a leader at Point Park University, what are your other interests?
Aviation is where it's at for me, and my kids, right? So it's really seeing my kids grow up and helping them become whatever they become. And then along the way, anytime I could spend in the sky, that's where I'm at, otherwise, I think those are the big ones. Just reading history. I'm a huge history person. Right? I love that. And travel. I could throw that in there. Right. I love going to new places, domestic and abroad, where I don't know the language. I don't know anybody. And my favorite thing to do is get rid of this. I don't even have a cell phone plan. That way I'm forced to figure out how to get around, who to talk to. All right. So yeah, I'd stick with those.
And so how do those interests really influence you being the leader that you are?
Perspective, hands down, right? The more that I can experience that's outside of my comfort zone, the more that I could share with others.
Thank you so much for joining us. Really hope you enjoyed this very special feature episode of 5 on 5 in 5. Please stay tuned so you can really dive deep with us into getting to know these guests. They each will have their featured episode week after week after week following this 5 on 5 series. So please subscribe, like, join us, follow us, share, and I hope you continue to join the conversation. All right. Thanks, everybody. Bye.